Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host Khalid. But today is the 17th of October 2024 and these are the stories that we will be highlighting during the course of the show. We'll begin, ladies and gentlemen, with the successful SCO Summit, the Council of the Heads of Government of the Member States of the SCO that ended in Islamabad on a high note, with all the countries adopting the communique and signing the joint communique. That was extremely important in the context of all that is happening in the region and in the world. A lot of positivity also emanated within the journalistic community and all the delegations that were present, along with the heads of state and other representatives of these countries of the SCO member states that were present in Islamabad. And the whole summit, the whole meeting happened in a very positive atmosphere. We'll be highlighting that, different aspects of that in our first segment. Our second story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the tensions that have been emanating between India and Canada since quite some time, and now they are of course reaching another chapter, another level with the expulsion of diplomats from Canada and of course a tit-for-tat response from India as well. This is all in the context of the murder of Niger, who is a Canadian national and whose murder happened in 2023. How is all of this going to bode forward for India-Canada relations and also relations between other important Seven Eyes countries and India is what we will discuss in our second segment. Then we are going to discuss the International Day for Eradication of Poverty that is being observed across the world, including in Pakistan. The theme this year is ending social and institutional maltreatment, acting together for a just, peaceful and inclusive society. Finally, we'll be talking about One Direction singer Payne, who was found dead after falling from the third story of a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires. A very famous singer of the One Direction group and a millionaire nevertheless. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the SCO Summit, the 23rd Council of Heads of Government meeting of the SCO member states that happened in Islamabad over the last 2 days. It has now ended, but of course some of the member states are still there. Nevertheless, a lot of positivity that emanated from this summit, from this meeting, and a lot of important decisions that were taken that were also highlighted in the joint communique signed by all the members. We've been joined by two guests to discuss about that. They are both in the studios. Let me introduce them to you one by one. On my right is Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jadpal. He is an international affairs expert and of course a very senior guest and a renowned guest of our show and many other shows. Thank you very much, Dr. Jadpal, to have joined us. Our second guest is Agha Iqrar Haroon. He's a senior analyst and a regular on our shows as well. Agha, thank you. Agha Iqrar, thank you very much to have joined us. Let's begin with you, Dr. Jadpal. How important was this 23rd Council of the Heads of Government of the Member States of the SCO meeting in the current geopolitical and geostrategic context, whether it be of this region, whether it be of the world?
I think that if we can focus, there's a rapid transformation in the international politics, and at the same time within the international politics there's too much focuses on our region, including Pakistan as a country. Pakistan has been viewed since starting of the war on terror a very dangerous country. The big hosting of such a summit was not expected, and Pakistan hosted it. So if I try to look at with the perspective of Pakistan, I think this summit was very important. It would be having a diplomatic, political, economic and strategic, you can say, benefits for the country as well as for the region. Second is that we have to not forget, we have to realize that the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is a Euro-Asian biggest organization. True. And covering 41% population of the world, and it is also, when we look about the Asian century and connectivity in the Asian century, I think that this summit is one of that kind of thing. Within that, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif had also, you can say, echoed the significance of this connectivity by referring to the BRI, CPEC and the regional connectivity. I think in this context, when we are looking about all these kind of the things, it was a success story. It was an important sort of a summit, and it has at least, you can say, demonstrated Pakistan is not isolated, what its adversaries desire, and finally it is a way forward for Pakistan and the member of the SCO, And definitely there are many other areas like economic cooperation, trade, addressing the primary objective of the summit, that was the 3 evils. I think all the things were deliberated, and the entire world needs these kind of the approaches today.
All right, these approaches are needed, but also the implementation of these approaches is needed. Agha, Iqrar, Haroon, the meeting has focused, as previous meetings of the SCO have also focused, on multilateralism as well as Eurasian connectivity. And now there is a the talk about preservation of traditional values, cultural and civilizational diversity, unilateral application of sanctions incompatible with international law, SCO development banks, implementation or setting up was also talked about, discussed in the communique as well. How pertinent were those and many other points that were mentioned in the communique, because the communique is a huge document. Also, did some of the points of the communique appear to point towards the West, which has weaponized sanctions, as well as the dollar against geopolitical foes such as Russia or China, both of which are SCO members?
Thank you so much. Let me be very honest. This communique, if you compare yesterday communique with the forthcoming agenda of the BRICS, they are very close.
Okay.
I mean, they are not parallel now. I think they are tailing each other. So, basically the theme or concept or philosophical aspect of this communique or SCO or this SCO was new economic dialogue. This is the same BRICS is asking. De-dollarization, BRICS is asking. I mean, mitigating the hegemony of the global north, BRICS is there. So, this SCO was quite different than the last, you can say, summits.
All right.
Because this summit was very much direct and target to the global north.
Okay.
And if I am not wrong, this concept of the global north and south is here for years and years, for decades. But no, they are very, you can say, it is exposed. Now, there is still a Cold War.
All right.
I divide world in non-NATO and NATO, Muslims and non-Muslims. And if you talk about the NATO and non-NATO, you can see this thing into this BRICS and as well as in SCO. So, what they want to do? They want to basically contest without antagonizing, because this communique also indicate not only the dialogue within SCO countries, but global north also.
Yes.
So, they don't want to contest anybody, but they want to tell like, okay, your sanctions, your hegemony, your think tanks, and how should we have our governors? You are nobody to tell us. And that is why they have mentioned into that every independent country is a sovereign, and nobody has any right to tell you how you should govern your country. So, this is a very loud and clear, but very, you can say, cautious move towards a you can say a direct you can say a position against the Western hegemony.
All right.
This is my, I can be wrong, but this is my opinion.
All right. Dr. Jadpal, many of the points, if I just resume some of the important points as far as the communique is concerned, the root talk of economy is what is leading this communique, and there are different points in the economy, whether it be cooperation in different forms of development, and they talk about a new economic dialogue, they talk about climate change, they talk about the youth, they talk about cooperation in different spheres, whether it be in culture or in other spheres as well. And they also talk about the SCO Development Fund, SCO Investment Fund, SCO Development Bank. These are interesting points, important points, but from herein comes the implementation of all these points. What needs to be done by the SCO countries in order to implement what has been decided in this communique?
In one word, one can say that since the beginning, SCO has been focusing on non-traditional security challenges to the state. Approach is multilateral, and at the same time, the spirit is Shanghai spirit, cooperation, trust, or these kind of the things. Yes, you are correct that they portrayed a very important picture especially very wishful kind of a thing. But the question is that what will be the tangible outcome of this kind of a thing, whether we'll see these all the things which they said, which they had already said, which they have conceived now again and articulated, whether they will be able to implement or not. Please keep in your mind that when you make a decision at the multilateral forums, overnightly nothing can happen.
True.
The second thing is, idea is there, and now ball is in the, you can say, ground. Whosoever kick, he will have an advantage to get the goal. So goalposts will be set by the member states, and definitely all the member states. If you start from the Iran side and Pakistan, going towards the Central Asia and leading towards the China, Russia, and end up into the Belarus, these are the 10 permanent members of the organization. They all are geographically connected. They all are working on the connectivity, and BRI is one of the main strengths. So definitely when you say, yes, they talked about the economic cooperation, increasing the trade, I am very optimistic about it. Naturally, the financial or de-dollarization or these kind of the things would be a facilitating variables. And the most important challenge is, that is the climate. For example, Pakistan's contribution in the climate degradation would be even lesser than 1% or we belong into that countries. But we are the worst effective of the 10 most affected countries in the world in the climate domain. So we are suffering from it, but at least this forum provides us an opportunity to publicize our vision, our concern. So I'm more concerned, yes, I fully agree with you that when these leaders met, definitely they agreed, joint communique, and they came up with a wishful list. But how much will be the outcome? What will be the tangible? One can be optimistic. And optimism is there, that if you see in the entire process, despite this, that there are two big wars are taking place, only our Prime Minister raised the concerns of the Muslim community or Pakistanis about the Gaza genocide of the Palestinians by the Israelis. Apart from that, this organization was not influenced by what is happening at the strategic or a military chessboard. They were more focused on what is need on the in the non-traditional security domain. So definitely I think the list which they shared, it's very much a practical list. World is heading towards it, and we are living in this interdependent world, and connectivity is there, and definitely objectives will be achieved. Of course, it's not like that you can just get overnight.
True. That is true. Agha Iqrar, our Prime Minister also, when he addressed this auspicious gathering, and also in the communique, there is a talk of poverty and a resolution of issues such as Afghanistan and Gaza. How can the SCO countries resolve or move forward in order to find some kind of a tangible solution when it comes to Afghanistan that is also partially or completely acceptable to the Afghan interim government and is applied in letter in principle, and when it comes to Gaza, I mean the powers that be that are creating havoc in the Middle East as we speak?
Omar, I think if you talk about the Gaza, I don't think so SCO has any role over there. But if you talk about Afghanistan, yes, SCO can play its role very strongly because China is already engaged with Afghanistan, and Russia is also engaged. Yes, I don't want to name two countries of Central Asia. They have very, you can say, very bitter relations with Afghans. But China and Russia are engaging with Afghanistan. So they can put their pressure over the Afghanistan regarding this issue that you are harboring a terrorist again. You know, according to my understanding, I may be wrong, Afghanistan has always used terrorism as a leverage. They utilize terrorism at particular level that you have to talk with them, like what happened in Doha. So this is their, you can say, their mindset. This is the same they try to do with the Central Asian country I don't want to name. So if Russia, China and somehow Iran, if they sit together and talk to Afghanistan, I think they should reconsider what they are doing. Because right now they feel they don't need Pakistan, they have a very good relationship with China, money is coming from there, Russians are also engaging them and putting some projects over there. So they think okay, we don't see now towards Pakistan. We have good relation with our neighbor because Russia is their immediate neighbor. So if China. So if China, Russia sit together and ask them why you are using terrorism again as a leverage against not only Pakistan, against Central Asian states also. There are 2 Central Asian states, they are manning their border 24/7 because they have threats from Afghanistan that they will transfer some terrorists over there inside their countries. So this is a very important thing. But I believe that Afghan interim government again using this situation as a leverage to put pressure on Pakistan and other countries to accept them and recognize this interim government.
All right. Let's come to extend a little bit of that same question, the anti-terrorism or counter-terrorism strategy and how that can be applied within the ambit of the SCO countries. Dr. Jadpal, how important does the role of RATs become under the current circumstances? Do you feel we need reforms in other organizations and other in structures such as RATs in order to apply it to the latest circumstances or to the changing circumstances in the region? Secondly, our Prime Minister says that endorsing reforms aimed at enhancing regional anti-terrorist structures means that the true essence of the SCO extends beyond political alliances and economic partnerships. Do you feel that the message goes and gets registered beyond the SCO countries as well, and I'm referring to the global north? Do you feel that they somehow can facilitate the implementation of reforms or help the SCO countries directly or indirectly, or can the SCO countries do it by themselves as far as reforms is concerned, as far as counter-terrorism measures are concerned under the ambit of RATs and at the SCO?
Look, when the SCO was created, the primary objective was 3 evils: to combat the separatism, radicalization and terrorism. So RATS is very significant organ of this, and everyone is expecting from the SCO something practical over it. When you talk about the economic or other all these kind of things, the climate or these challenges, they are just secondary issues. If you can go with the charter of the SCO and Article 1 of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. If you see that recently, in September, when there was a United Nations General Assembly meeting, on the sideline of that, Pakistani Defense Minister, Chinese Foreign Minister, Russian Foreign Minister and Iranian Foreign Minister, 4 met and they deliberated on the Afghanistan situation, and the primary focus was terrorism. Today, whether you see the United Nations reports or whether you see the regional media reporting, you would find the Al-Qaeda is once again rising, or in Afghanistan, Daesh is there. East Turkestan Islamic movement, which is haunting the Chinese, has been haunting the Chinese, it is there. The Uzbek Islamic movement, which is haunting the Central Asian, it is there. So the regional 6 states or neighbors of the Afghans have a consensus, including the Russia. Now in this context, of course, every member of this organization, they are very much concerned and very much vulnerable to the proxies, and especially these terrorist organizations emanating from our northwestern side. So there is a consensus, and that's why Prime Minister very rightly drew the attention of the members that we have to focus on this evil very carefully, collectively. And of course, if you see the world is today in an entirely different mood. If you can focus on the Europe, as earlier my friend pointed out with reference of the NATOization of the Europe, and the NATO has started looking the Euro-Atlantic security, and it has now coupled with the Asia-Pacific security. They are more concerned about the hard power because of the Ukraine and what is happening in the Taiwan, Philippines, or what is there is some kind of things. But our region is very much vulnerable to the terrorism, and that's why SCO, which is a Euro-Asian organization, or this regional multilateral organization, definitely it is focusing on it, and the role of the RAT, which you have asked, it is very significant for the stability of the region, security of the region and prosperity of the region.
Dr. Jadpal, last question to you, and that concerns the SCO as an organization and the states that are part of it, some of the states who do not maybe or do not want to look eye to eye or don't look eye to eye. Do you feel that the platforms such as the SCO provide an opportunity for states to set aside their differences and come together to pursue common goals for the benefit of their people? Second part, do you also feel that some sectors view such organizations as a revival of bloc politics?
Look, this is very important. When the SCO was created, from the very beginning to date, SCO maintained a very clarity that this forum is not open for bilateral discussions, bilateral disputes or bilateral sort of a thing. Yes, on the sideline of the organization, bilateral meeting takes place and they provide the opportunities for the bilateralism. Second, when the SCO was created, the analysts at that time said, oh, it's an organization which is going to check the NATO eastward creep. But the SCO has maintained it is addressing the non-traditional security challenges, but not the traditional security challenge, and that's why in the SCO charter you do not find an article identical to the Article 5 of the NATO charter, which is Article 5 of collective security in the NATO. So that's why in the SCO this kind of things is not missing. Now here's the question: bloc politics. Americans have rejuvenated the bloc politics. They have a NATO strengthened, they have a Quad, they have a I2U2, they have AUKUS. They are working on these similar kind of the things. Even in the NATO, when there was a summit, the 75th summit, there was an echo of that the quadrilateral alliance has emerged, like and they said China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. But when we critically examine, no, it's not a bloc. There could be like-mindedness, or they have only one common agenda, that they have one enemy which is imposing sanctions on them. Apart from that, there is no bloc. There's only thing, and in the SCO, if you see, none of the SCO members had discussed or they are willing to discuss this kind of a bloc, because everyone has independent relations with the other bloc countries. So that's why for the time being, if you try to look multilateral organizations focusing on the non-traditional security challenges, I think yes, SCO is there. But if you are thinking that it is a multinational organization going to rise like a Warsaw Pact or something like that, no, it is not there.
What about multilateralism? Do you feel the message has gotten across as far as SCO and its relation to multilateralism?
Yeah, it's a multilateralism. World is a multilateral. It's very interesting. In even the Indian Prime Minister was saying, Indian Foreign Minister was saying multipolarity. Multipolarity. If you see the Americans or the others, they are not interested to listen multipolarity. US and the Russians and the Chinese are, you can see, the leaders of the current multipolarity. And SCO, it's a reflection of multipolarity. That's why if you see, what was the agenda? Global terrorism, global extremism, global separatism, global climate, borderless threats to the nations. So borderless threats can only be addressed by multilateral approach, and I think SCO is adopting that approach.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Zafar Nawaz Jadpal to have joined us for this segment on the 23rd meeting of the Council of the Heads of Government of the SCO member states, and that has gone extremely successfully and has not only raised Pakistan's image but also has led to a joint communique that includes many important points that I hope in the coming weeks, months, in the coming meetings also will be discussed and implemented. Thank you very much again, Dr. Zafar, to have joined us. Let's come to our second story, and that concerns the tensions that exist between Canada and India that have exacerbated because of the expulsion of diplomats in Canada, Indian diplomats in Canada, and of course a tit for tat that is also going to happen from the Indian side as well. Since the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar in 2023, the tensions have only escalated between both the sides. There have been many a statement from the Canadian side, many a proofs that have been presented. We've seen the statements by Melanie Joly, their foreign minister, as well as their head of state, and we've also seen the statements that have come from the Indian side. But the fact is that the Indian side has not accepted the fact that they have been involved in any means whatsoever in the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar. We continue to be joined by Agha, Iqrar, Haroon, our senior analyst, and we'll also be joined by Shazia Malik, who is an international political analyst, to discuss more on that. Let's begin with you, Agha Iqrar Saab. This escalation of tensions between India and Canada over what Canada describes as a campaign of violence against Canadian citizens on Canadian soil. There are expulsions of 6 Indian diplomats that has occurred, including the head of the Indian High Commission there. The Indian Foreign Ministry says New Delhi is going to expel 6 Canadian diplomats, including the acting High Commissioner from India, by Saturday as well. What happens now to the relations or this row between India and Canada?
In G20, Canadian Prime Minister very softly requested and informed Mr. Modi to please accept it. He reacted. He reacted very sharply. Oh no, we are not. So it was meant to happen. This is one of the most, you can say, adverse, you can say, treatment India ever received from any Western countries in last 50 years. This is not a joke. When you send a High Commissioner, okay, you can, persona non grata can be many percent, but sending back the High Commissioner as a persona non grata, this is the height of everything.
True.
This is basically still, Canada is not using the word which it should have been, that is cross-border terrorism. Canada has accepted that India is involved in cross-border terrorism that we had been crying to the whole world, providing them dossiers, providing them dossiers, please help us. This, I mean, I don't want to use any bad word. This is eating us. Nobody was accepting. And remember one thing, when this whole thing happened, an Indian origin person was a prime minister in a European country. If he could have not been there, you could have seen what could have come from the Europe also, because India is extensively involved against Sikhs in Europe also, not only in UK, even in the Eastern Europe. They have mercenaries, they have their own networking for killing people, I mean run from New Delhi. And one very important thing we should not forget in the whole issue, that these information of this cross-border terrorism were shared by Five Eyes to Canada. Who are Five Eyes? They are the cream class of NATO, right? And the same NATO which has, you can say, promoted India as a net security provider in Asia Pacific. So this is a basically error of their choice. Now this net I mean security provider in Asia Indo-Pacific, it has become a responsibility to the NATO countries. This is the whole story. Now where it will go, I mean I don't want to involve into who killed who. This is the basically India thought, no, I am the, you can say,
I can do whatever I
can
want.
Do everything in Indo-Pacific because they need me here. So let's start a new game beyond Pakistan, and they started it. But I mean, Five Eyes are eyes. What do you mean? The name is beautiful. Everybody in Indo-Pacific has a 5 different eyes to look what is going on, and India could not escape. And actually, and New Zealand informed, the first information were received by New Zealand. That shared with the Five Eyes. Then Five Eyes shared the with Canada. If you have gone, if you go to the trail of this information, it is a complete saga.
Thank you very much, Agha, Iqrar, Haroon, to have joined us, and of course to discuss Canada-India tensions as well, and how this is moving in all the wrong directions. Let's come to our last 2 stories, ladies and gentlemen, very quickly. The first concerns the International Day of the Eradication of Poverty that is being observed across the world, including in Pakistan. The theme this year is ending social and institutional maltreatment and acting together for a just, for a peaceful and an inclusive society. This is extremely important in this day and age where we see poverty in many different countries, including in developed countries, and that is what we need to do a collective effort to target poverty in a positive manner, so that all those people who are affected by poverty directly and indirectly could be brought in the on the right track and could be helped in whichever way possible. Finally, One Direction singer Liam Payne has been proclaimed dead after falling from a Buenos Aires hotel balcony. Now, he was found dead outside his hotel after this 31-year-old who is a multimillionaire fell from his third floor room balcony. This was confirmed by the Argentinian police on Wednesday, and of course a lot of statements have been emanating from the music world and from the entertainment world on how we've lost a great singer. But of course a lot of statements also talk about his alcoholism. A lot of people also talk about his drug habits, which he said he had stopped since some time. But some of the policemen say that there was a person enraged and under the influence. Whether it be drugs or alcohol, only time will tell. Nevertheless, there was a lot of chat on the online arena on what happened and what were the reasons behind the death of Liam Payne. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories and segments that pertain to us. You in Pakistan, stay safe. Allah Hafiz.